Welcome everyone. Firstly, this is the new webinar for the update 334, and there's been a few features that we've added to this. So what we're going to look at is we're going to be looking at this agenda. So we can see the job CSV import, which is going to help you basically manage to import all of your jobs from a customer if they have multiple job sheets that come in. Okay, so it looks like people can hear me, so that's all good. So we're going to carry on. So the job CSV import will basically make sure that those customers that give you big spreadsheets of job sheets, you can import them quickly rather than having to fill in one by one. Now, the second bit we've put in is compulsory action lists. And this means that these action lists can be done before the job is actually edited and completed. The next thing we've done is the property change notification. So what this means is this is already in Clik, but we've added to it. And through this webinar, we're going to go through how you can use that as well. Basically, we've just added more functionality. So when, for example, a quote has been accepted, the responsible contact will get a message to say that that particular quote has been accepted. And that might instigate the account manager to go and do something with that quote. But we've also put some other bits in as well throughout the other modules within Clik regarding property change notifications. So we will go through that. The other bit that we've added to our update is the quote, invoices, sales, and order colors as well. So we'll go through how you can do that, and there's status colors, so you can see them in your list. And we've finished with 10 minutes of questions as well. There are quite a lot of people on this webinar today, so I'll go through sort of most of them. If we don't get to you, then what we'll do is we will send you the answers to them via a support article afterwards, and there'll be a link and a recording of this video as well. Right, okay, so that's questions. Now, without further ado, we're going to go on to the job CSV import. I'm going to bring up my Clik, and you're going to be able to see that. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up Clik service, and you should be able to see Clik service. And we're going to go into CSVs and job import CSVs. So the important thing about CSVs is the importance that you can just get that information all in one go. You don't have to manually type all the job sheets. So this is the important thing about job CSV import. Now, before you start that, what you might do is you might create the mapping exercise. And what we mean by that is you might have the client spreadsheet, and you might want to say, well, we're going to use those fields and we're going to put them into Clik. So we're going to map the fields together. So you don't have to keep on using our standard CSV template. But we'll go through how you can use the CSV template as well. Okay, so if we go to CSV import, we click up on Setup Predefined Imports. You're going to see what I made earlier called Job Sheet Map Job, but I'm actually going to start this again so you can see how this works. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this mapping. I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to create one called Job Mapping. I'm going to go to my type. Now, mapping could be used for other CSVs as well, but we're concentrating just on jobs because that's the new feature that's come in. So we're going to go to Jobs, and it's brought up a kind of list of default ones that are already from our standard one. But what we're going to do is we're going to read the customer CSV template or the Excel spreadsheet that they've sent us to be able to see that. So let's just have a look at this. I'm going to click on Read CSV Headers. I'm going to click on Yes. I'm going to click on Auto Raise Jobs, which is the one that the customer has sent us, and press Open. So as you can see, their columns have come through on their spreadsheet, and now it's up to me to map these columns to the Clik columns. So what I'm going to do is order reference, quite straightforward. That's going to be customer reference in this case. Our reference is our reference, so it's done that bit for you. It's managed to find that and said that's the relevant one or specific relevant one. If it's not, you can obviously change that if you need to. Customer, and you can see that it's linked by customer, and that's the important thing. They must have a customer kind of column in there to say which customer that's going to be belong to. Also, if you go to Site, you can click on Site, and then you'll be able to go to Location Company, or you can go to Location Site Description. In this case, I'm going to do Location Site Description. And I can also go to my postcode as well, so I can scroll down and I can click on Location Postcode because that's what they put in there. I've got my title, I've got my due date. Well, we're going to go for start date on this one. So we'll go down and we'll find start date. So that's fine. And then we'll find status as well. And it's already found it. So that's really good. We've got prefix and we've got work to be done and we've got site reference. So we're going to do location site reference. So I've mapped the customer's fields from their spreadsheet to what Clik will be. And that might be the first exercise you do when you do this. So we're going to click OK. That's now been created. And the next thing to do is now import that CSV that's come from that customer. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Tools on here. I'm going to go to CSV Import. I'm going to go to Imports, Job, and Job Mapping. Now, if I wanted to use a Clik service standard CSV template, I could go to Jobs and I could do that way, but I'm going to go to Imports, Job, and Job Mapping. And now it's going to ask me to think about importing. Even at this stage, you can go to Create CSV Import and create your standard job templates or a job template of optional headers, and we'll go for that in a minute. But if we click on Import, we'll get the options, don't import duplicate records, and then we'll go to Duplicate Field, and we'll go Link Object to Object by Customer. So basically what we're saying is don't import duplicate records. The duplicate field is our reference, so it will check to make sure that there is another job with that particular our reference. And that's fine in this case, but it could be customer reference potentially. And it's going to link the object by customer, which is exactly what we want. Right, okay, so we're going to go to OK. And we're going to select that spreadsheet that we got. So auto raise job sheets, press open. And it's found me 4 job sheets. Now it has come up with some errors or warnings, if you like, not errors. But all it's really saying to me is that basically I didn't fill in an invoice customer or location customer because that wasn't part of that spreadsheet. So I don't need to really worry about these warnings, to be honest with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to close that and I'm just going to click on save to bring those jobs in, and we're going to have a look at those jobs in a minute. So I click save. That's been saved. I'm going to click on exit. I'm going to go to my jobs module, and now we're going to see those jobs in here. So you should see those 4 here. So where my cursor is, you should be able to see that. I'll just do a little drawing so you can see those. So there, these jobs just here that have been now imported into my database. So you should be able to see that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase those drawings and we're just going to carry on with the next part of it. So that really is how you might do it in a job mapping kind of exercise. Now, what I'm going to show you is also what you could do in terms of using Clik's standard job CSV template. So if you go to Tools, you go to CSV Import, and you go to Jobs this time, what you're going to see is you're going to see Create CSV Template here. And it could be a standard job template. And that's just going to create kind of another file. So we'll just do job test 1 and put that onto my desktop. So what I'm going to show you in here, just go back to my Clik. So what you should see in a minute is a different type of spreadsheet. There's one I filled in earlier. I'm just going to show you that spreadsheet now. So this is the standard sort of template that we would produce. And you might say to your customer that we need you to fill this in, or we want you to fill in these forms. Now we do have an article, especially on this, about how you might use the standard templates and what all of these columns mean. But it's a case of filling the ones that you require. All of them are pretty self-explanatory. There is one here called template. That would mean the job template that you're using. So it would populate that job template when those jobs go into the CSV. It's just another way of using a different Excel spreadsheet that you might want to use for your customers. So if we went to Tools, just bear with me. So if we went to Tools CSV, we're in here now. I could import, but then I could select that different template. In this case, it would be that one, and it would populate. Now I already know that these have already gone through. So I press open and it's just selecting that template and then saving it again into here. Now there is also another option. There is Create CSV and Job Template optional headers as well. This means that you could put more headers into the standard template that you want to create, and you just select those headers that you want, and then you can create a CSV template. So if we put all of these in, for example, generate CSV, it will generate a CSV with the standard one that we've created, but also with these headers as well. and then you could ask maybe your customer to fill those in, or you can copy and paste from their spreadsheet into that spreadsheet. So it's just another way of doing it, but maybe look at the CSV mapping tool, because that might be a really handy way to quickly get them in. Right. Okay, so that's kind of really the CSV job import. Now, the next one is compulsory action list. But before we do that, I just want to take a quick poll on how many people use action lists in Clik service. So I'm going to launch that poll now. So you should see that that's open. I'll leave it for a couple of seconds. And then we'll share that and just see what people do. So I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. We've got 68% voted at the moment, 70% voted, 72% voted. And I'm now going to close that poll. And I'm going to share that with you. So you can see that basically it looks like 40% yes and 60% no don't use action list to Clik service. So this is about the compulsory action list, but it will also give you an understanding of how action lists work in Clik as well. Right, so let's go into action list. So compulsory action list, what it means is that basically your engineers need to fill those action lists before they can edit the jobs. And this could be for compliance reasons. You need to show that they've done that action list before they've done anything else on the job sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into my settings. So we're going to go to settings, and we're going to go to settings again. And then we're going to go down to where we got action lists. And in the action list, I have made some already. So at the moment, we've got a vehicle check, we've got a dynamic risk assessment, and we've just got a normal standard action list. Now, what you're going to see in 3.3.4 is two new columns, one called compulsory and another one called category. So basically, all you need to do to make a action list compulsory is put a tick box in here. And that means that that will always be compulsory every time you add those action lists. We've also created a couple of categories. We've got one called health and safety check and risk assessment. You will see them, but you can add to them. And I'm going to show you how you can do that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is just literally all you need to do to click it, you just click on there and then it will say that it's an action list. And that's it. It will ask you to save those changes. Press yes, select the category, ask you to save the changes again. So it's just ticking that box to make it compulsory. And I'm going to show you how that looks. Now, compulsory action lists will only work on Clik Remote Engineer. It's not on Clik Jobs at the moment, but we are looking to do it in Clik Jobs in the future. Okay, so once you've got your action list and made it compulsory, you basically will then decide maybe you want to create more compulsory categories. So what you can do is you can go to types in the settings and you'll see compulsory action lists types in here. You can right click on this button, click on new sub item, and you could put another one. So I'll just put service in, could be a service compulsory action list or something like that. So that's how you might create more categories. But what we're now going to do is we're going to assign an engineer and we're going to see how compulsory action lists look on Clik Remote Engineer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click OK. We're going to go to a job sheet. So I'm going to go to the Snow Lodge one. I'm going to go into action lists. I'm going to click on new and I'm going to select my compulsory action list. So I'm going to select a vehicle check and I'm also going to select dynamic risk assessment. So those two are compulsory. I'm also just going to put my standard action list in as well. So we do have something there. And then I'm going to assign my engineer to the job sheet. So what are we going to do is I'm going to click on engineers. I'm going to click on add. And I'm going to select that engineer that I want to do it. In this case, it's going to be Paul Benson. That's OK. I'm going to save and close that action list. Right, OK. So what I'm now going to do is open up Clik Remote. So you should be able to see that in a second. There we go. So what we're going to do is I am going to click on refresh just to get all my jobs. I'm going to go to that 173. And then you're going to notice at the top here, and I'm just going to highlight that with my pen. So at the top here, you've now got that top bit here that is telling you that you've got two compulsory action lists that you need to fill in. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill those in. You'll notice here that there is no edit. They can't do anything with this job. The only thing they can do with that job is potentially print it if you've given them access to print it, but they can't edit that job at all. So they can't complete it, they can't add notes to it, they can't add times to it, they can't do anything with it until they've done these action lists. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do those action lists. So let's do those action lists. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to click on the edit button next to this action list, and I'm going to do my health and safety check. So click on that. Yes, I'm done with no defects. And I've ticked this box. I click close. That disappears. I've now got my dynamic risk assessment. I click on edit. I then answer my questions again. I click on close, and voila, you've now be able to edit that job. You'll now be able to add times. You'll now be able to add materials, documents, anything you want. It is now opened up for you. That job sheet is there. Now, what you've also got is you've still got your standard action list, and you still may have that privilege that says you still need to fill in the standard action list before you complete the job, or when it's completed. If you try and complete it and you haven't done that action list, it will still not allow you to complete the job until you've finished all the other action lists as well. So there is still in action lists as well. But we click on, we can click on that and go to view details and click on edit, and we can fill in that standard action list that isn't compulsory, but it is just a standard action list. So that really is compulsory action list, but I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail how you might manipulate those action lists too. So I'm going to go back to Clik service. So we go back into Clik service, and we're going to just quickly talk about how you can populate it into your job templates. So you might have what we call job templates, which is a feature that was released in the previous update, which we've gone through, and you should have a KB article on there. But you'll notice as well, you've got action list as the tab, and you'll notice you've got your compulsory action list in this tick box, that compulsory list must be completed in order in Clik Remote. So what that means is that it had to be in this order to complete them. I had to do vehicle check before I could do dynamic risk assessment. So it's just another little option that you might put in. You might say we don't care about that as long as they do the compulsory action list in however which way, but you might say, no, I want you to do it in a particular order. Vehicle check first, dynamic risk assessment. So you would have noticed in Clik Remote, it would have been vehicle check, but dynamic risk assessment would have been blanked out until I finished that vehicle check one. In here, you can also change the order of those action lists in how you want to do them. So you can do that if you need to. And obviously with the job template, you can create job in here as well. So that's compulsory action lists. And the next thing we're going to go through, just bear with me 1 second, is property change notification. So I'm just going to go through that one. So you should see my screen now. So we're going to go through property change notification. And these can be set up via email, text, or an internal message into Clik. So if you want to get notified by email, you can. If you want to be notified by text, you can. If you want an internal message in Clik, you can also do that. So how would you might use property change notifications? Well, they can be notified for staff to maybe respond, but you can also notify customers as well through these. There is that flexibility. We do have an article on property change notifications as a whole. This is really about the additions that we've put onto property change notifications, but we will go through it in this session. Right, okay, so without further ado, we're going to go through that now. So I'm just going to bring up my Clik again. Just bear with me 1 second. So you should see my Clik. And what we're now going to do is we're going to go into property change notifications. So we're going to click on settings at the top here. We're going to go into settings again, and we're going to scroll all the way down to modules, communication, and we're going to go to property change notification. I've already got a few in here at the moment, and we're going to go through these bit by bit. So I'm going to go through one of the most typical ones is job complete. And what this means is that when the job is complete, we're going to give a notification to certain people. That could be internal, so they get a click, or it could be an email, which you could email the customer with that particular property change notification that explains that this job has been complete. That is something you can do if you want to. Right, okay, so what we're going to do is we click on internal, we click on configure, And you'll notice at the moment there's no recipients that are going to get this message, which is simply job number has been completed. Well, that could be the only internal message you want. So let's go to add individual. So what we've added in this version is responsible contact, and responsible contact might be someone in the business or in the office that is responsible for all jobs, not necessarily the engineer. It could be for all jobs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them as an individual. But what I'm also going to do is I might also put in a particular user, which could be the admin user or the account manager as well. So you can put in as many recipients as you want for that internal message. So job number has been complete. You've also got the option to add a group. So if you are doing groups in Clik, you can add that group as well if you need to. But that would be it. And that would be all you need to do to set that up. And once you've got that, all you need to do is make sure that that box is ticked. And that means that that message will happen when someone completes a job sheet. People will get notified to say that that job has been complete. So in another example, it could be that you say, okay, we're quite happy when we tick that complete on a job sheet, we're happy for an automated message to go out to a customer. So what you can do is if you go to email configure, you can now select some email addresses. And we'll make this pretty simple. If you go to add individual, it's going to bring up a couple of recipients. Now, what I would say, if you've got your contacts completely right in Clik, then what you could do is you could say, okay, location, company, main contact. So it will look at the email address you got for that main contact, and it will send it to that person that is set as the location, company, main contact. Similar if it's the location address main contact. So that might be if you want it to go to a site-specific location address main contact once that job is complete for that particular customer. Again, you've also got responsible contact as well. So if we close that, what will happen is you can then start putting in the message that you want. So subject might be job complete, for example. It might come from a service account, so service@clicksoftware.com. If you want it to come from a direct account, that's how it will work. And you can also put the template that you want to be attached to it. So I can click on this little PDF and I can say, well, I want a job sheet to be attached to it. So I'll say that job sheet, I want this engineer job sheet to be attached to it. And then I can start writing in my message. So it could be something like this, hi. And then I'm going to insert what we call a tag. So if I click on insert tag, it's going to list me lots of different tags. Now this is actually going forward, is going to be tidied up a little more, but you can see there's lots of tags in here. So for example, it could be hi, it could be hi company or whatever you want. So we could put that in. So for example, in future, we're going to put hi contact or something like that, but you can put in hi owner, hi company name, whatever you like. And then that's just going to display that company. And then you could say job. Oh, and then I can insert the job number. So I can go insert tag. And I can bring in job number. So I'm going to bring in a job number. And that should populate in there. Has been complete. So that's the sort of thing you could do, and you could save that in here. You've also got the potential, if you've already using email templates in Clik, you could bring in another template that you've already created in Clik by clicking use template. If you have one in there, you can potentially do that and press OK. So what does that mean then? So that means now that any job that is complete is going to send an email to the location contact for that client. It's also going to send an internal message to me as well. So that's what it does in terms of property change notification. Now, what we've added to it is we've added things for quote status. So in terms of the update, what we've done is if you click on configure, you've now got the option of responsible contact, but also account manager, admin, and all the users as well that are relevant to it. That's something that wasn't in there before. And the same with email. If you click on add individual, we've now got company main contact, and I think location address contact, location company, which they weren't in there in the previous update. So that's what you can now do in terms of sending these property change notifications for quotes if you want to send a quote to those people. So for example, in this one is just going to send a quote from a company has been accepted. So the responsible contact gets to know that that's been accepted, and they might act on that information. So that's the sort of thing that you could do. And that is really property change notifications. Okay, there is another option. You can add text messages as well if you do text, and it's exactly the same thing as kind of the email. You can decide what you want to put in that text message. Obviously, I think your character restricted to 250 characters, but you could do the same thing. You can add individuals and say who you want to have that particular message, and you can insert tags as well. And then you've got plenty of tags that you can choose from in here. So it's something that you might look at and you might think that'd be quite useful for your Clik. So that's property change notifications. Right, okay, I'm just going to pause that and we are going to go into some of the other settings. And we're going to talk about the quote status, and we're going to bring up invoice status and sales order status coloring, just so you can see the list in colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click on settings. I'm going to click on settings again, and we're going to scroll down all the way to sales orders, invoices, and credits. And down here, you're going to see this display, enable invoice category colors. So basically, you can set up your invoice category colors, and you can set up your sales order category colors as well. So if we click on set up invoice category colors, we can start putting in different category colors for different types of categories that we select. So I'm just going to do a few in here, and then I can click on this one, enable sales order category colors, and I can do the same as well. So that's what you've got in here. The next one is quotes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable status color, and you can also enable category colors of quotes as well. So we can enable status colors, which you've got in here, and it's just a case of clicking that button and choosing the colors you want. So what does that look like? Well, we go to OK, and we go to quotes. If I quickly put a category in here for one of these quotes and a status, if I haven't got it, so I haven't got a category for my category, but I've got a category for status. So you can see my status is in here. There you go, that looks a bit better. So you've got them all, so you've got complete, not proceeding. It's just highlighting those facts that might be useful for you, just to see where you are with those particular quotes. It's the same function with sales orders as well. So if we go into sales and sales orders, we should see category. We've got category in here, and you can see the different categories that you've got. And the same with invoices. If you've got invoice categories, I haven't quite got one, so I'll just create one quickly. So we'll choose a category, save it, close it, and then you should see that category, and you've got the green in there. So that's kind of what you can do with those colors. So that's pretty much it when it comes to this update. What I'm going to do is just put some details on my screen so you can see them. So basically, if you need to get in touch with us, with your account manager about any of the things that we've been through today, or tech support if you're having problems with the update, you can get in touch with us by phoning us on 0117 902 2012 and email us at hello@clicksoftware.com. But before we leave, what I'm going to do, and that's, we're going to just go through some questions that we might have on here. Okay, so what have we got for questions? Okay, we have got, can a compulsory category be scheduled? Yes, it can be. And I think what you mean here, this is from Louise, is its potential if it goes on a planned work visit maintenance schedule. So from a contract and you want a template to display those action lists. So what we'll do is I'll show you how you might do that. So if we go into the CRM, and we go into a contract. So I'm just going to show you in a contract that I have. When you're creating your reoccurring visit schedules, you'll notice you have job template here, and you can click on browse, and you'll be able to go to action list, and you'll be able to put those action lists in. So what this means is when that visit gets created and when they're scheduled, it's going to apply those action lists to be done. So they will have to do those action lists when they do a service, for example, or anything like that. Hopefully, Louise, that's answered your question. If not, please get in touch with us and we can go through that. The complete email message is great. Can you set this for other statuses to update the customer? Yes, correct. Steve, yes, you can. So what I only obviously did the status in terms of complete, But if we go into settings and go to communications and property change notification, you'll notice if I click on add, I can add another one. So I could say, well, I've got my job sheet complete, but maybe I want a different status. I can go to job status, I can click on add, and I can say, okay, well, what I want to do is I actually want to send an email out to say that the job has been assigned to the customer. So you could say job status assigned, click on add, find email, or internal as well if you need to internal message to say someone's been assigned, and you can configure that email to say, hi, your job has been assigned. This is the start date. This is the equipment we're servicing. So you could do that. So you could go to email, click on configure, and you could do the same thing, and you could sort of build that message. Hopefully that answers your question, Steve. Okay. What is the timescale for getting compulsory actions for Clik jobs? Unfortunately, Derek, I can't quite give you that, but it will be sometime hopefully early next year. I will need to speak with the development team and also our product manager about that. Can color categories in job sheets? Yes, categories in job sheets has been there for a while. It's not part of the update, but it has been there. So basically what you can do is if you go into modules, job sheets, you're going to see enable category colors on job sheet display down here. So you can enable category colors from there. So that's absolutely fine. So you can do that, Tony. Okay, so there is a wish list item there from Barry. Barry, we'll get back to you on that. I don't think we'll go through that now. Can we enable SMS messages to confirm appointments with Clik tenants? Well, I suppose what you could do, you can buy text messaging off us. Obviously, it's I believe it's £50 and 500 text messages. That's something you could look at doing. So in the communication property change notification, again, you could use statuses maybe. You could do an internal message that says add individual. You can't, hang on, let's do text messages. I'll just check to see you can do it in text messages. So I'll go add SMS. Yeah. So what you could do is you could add the individual as long as you've got their telephone number as a location main contact and they have that mobile telephone number in there, that should send a text message to them based on the status for that job sheet, for example. So potentially you could do that once it's assigned. So hopefully that's fine for Peter. But yep, you could have a status that could be appointed or something like that maybe. Okay, so that's kind of really it for any questions. What we will do is we will list these questions that have been created and we will answer them, and you'll get them via an email. You'll get them through a video. Okay, so that's really it for property change notifications and for the update and your questions. So thanks very much for listening. Let us know how you found this webinar. And there should be a survey straight after this. So just let us know if that's happened. And thank you very much for watching. We will be doing these every update that we do, so you get an idea basically of what updates we're doing and how they can be achieved. Now, everything I've been through, there are support articles on as well. You can go to the support site and you can type in. Sorry for those people that might have had a problem with sound at the start. Not sure what happened there, but hopefully it's all sorted now. So for the next webinar, you should be all good to go. But yeah, thanks very much for listening and speak to you soon.